You come to the New Yorker Radio Hour for conversations that go deeper with people you really want to hear from, whether it's Bruce Springsteen or Questlove or Olivia Rodrigo, Liz Cheney, or the godfather of artificial intelligence, Geoffrey Hinton, or some of my extraordinarily well-informed colleagues at the New Yorker. So join us every week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
And let's talk about what lessons about.
Let's hang out.
And let's listen to two lesbians shout.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
Hi guys, welcome back to Les Hangout, a podcast full of lesbian feelings. From the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida.
And from the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster. Before we get started today, we just want to have a couple pre-show announcements again to remind you that we have merchandise. You can find it if you go to our TeePublic store, which you can get to by going to bit.ly/lesshop. Tons of good designs up there that you should totally put on your body. That would be the best choice.
Stickers all over your body.
Or a mug, I mean, whatever. But, you know, body's best. And also, we have a Patreon, and you should check out our Patreon. It's a great way, A, to help support the podcast, and B, to get access to fun things like watching Les Essentials movies with us and getting to hear outtakes of the show. If you want to hear more of Ellie and I sounding like idiots, that's there.
Yes. We also have a Les Essentials viewing party coming up for Carmilla. So if you want to get in on that, join our Patreon pretty much immediately.
Do it. Do it now. No peer pressure.
And without further ado, this is episode 15. Bury Your Gays.
Oof. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Which definitely gives us a lot of lesbian feelings. So that's
There's
where we're
gonna
at.
be a lot of feelings today. I think this was something that we wanted to do. We are gearing up for Klexicon next week, which I guess is this week by the time this comes out. We are super excited for that. I know a lot of our listeners are super excited for that. And obviously, the whole bury your gays trope and that whole idea is the motivating factor for the convention. And so we thought that we would take the opportunity today to just do a quick episode in preparation where we talk about some lesbian deaths that have given us all of the feels.
Which there are a lot of them, but I think we can narrow it down to our most important. For those of you who don't know what bury your gays is, just in case, bury your gays is a trope that has shown up in television shows and movies since the beginning of television and movies, or the beginning of gays in TV and movies.
Since the beginning of gays.
Yeah, since the beginning of gays.
Since gays have gayed on the earth, there have been people marrying.
So sad.
It's going to a dark place real fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But for those of you who don't know what that is, basically, writers, instead of giving gay characters a happy ending, they just kill them off. And so we end up with a ridiculous amount of poor, sad, dead lesbians.
And especially lesbians.
Yeah, especially lesbians. Gay men as well. We don't want to discriminate.
No, not to discriminate, but it does tend to be predominantly female gays that get killed off. So lesbian or bisexual female characters is more common. So, and this, I mean, there's a lot that's been done on this. I know there's Autostraddle. I don't know if they put it together, but I know they cover every year a report on LGBT representation in the media that kind of breaks down a lot of these numbers. There's other organizations that do it as well. I know Leswatch TV has a great database of all of this information. We've even had some of you have sent us. I think we had a listener who emailed us her senior thesis or something on LGBT deaths or lesbian deaths in media representation. So there's lots of people who care about this, lots of this being looked into, and it's something that we love hearing about, love learning more about, because I think it's important. You know, it's something that matters to all of us, certainly. And that's why we wanted to share with you what are the characters' deaths that have most impacted us, you know, impacted Ellie and impacted myself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're each kind of picking our, can you say favorite lesbian death? There's not a favorite lesbian death.
Favorite sounds really rough.
It's a bad way to say it.
For me, it was my first lesbian death.
Okay.
And so therefore, I think the most impactful. I was not aware of the bury your gays trope when this happened, and it really hit me. I'm just going to dig into...
Yeah, kick us off. Do it.
My heart, my love, Dana Fairbanks.
It hurts just saying her name.
I can't. And here's the thing. So I went to a very gay college. I've talked about this quite a few times. We both really lucked out, huh, Lee?
Yeah. In life in general, I think.
Yeah, just being lesbians. But we won the gay lottery. But at my college, there were quite a few lesbians, and I was friends with a lot of them before I came out, because gay magnetism. This is literally every episode is just in this right now.
We're going to throw back to everything. Throwback to every episode.
But I remember being in one of my friends, Kelsey's dorm rooms, and her and my friend Amelia were watching The L Word. And they were right in the middle of the season where Dana dies. I vaguely remembered that because I hadn't watched the show. I was straight, so I was like, oh, this is an interesting show. Okay, things are happening, but I feel lost because I'm sort of in the middle of it. Fast forward to when I come out and I start watching the show. And I knew, in the back of my mind, I knew that Dana was going to die. I knew it. Mm. And even when it happened, it still was just heart-wrenching. First of all, Dana and Alice are my favorite lesbian couple ever.
Are you going to say that? Because I have heard you say some strong feelings about Coffeen that I don't know if I believe you right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Coffeen.
They're up there. Let's say they're up there.
Okay, Lee. I'm an all or nothing gal. So
I'm just keeping you honest. That's all.
Thank you. Everyone's my favorite. They were my first, loves.
Yeah.
So I was mourning Dana and Alice's breakup. Then you have Dana and her new girlfriend, whatever, new/old girlfriend. I hated that whole storyline. Let's get out of there. But because also you have Alice, who is just undying in her devotion to Dana.
Yeah.
I think Dana was also really rough for me because in a way I identify with Dana. I saw Dana. She was this sort of awkward, quirky, really pretty uncomfortable person, but so endearing. And that sounds, I guess, that sounds weird to say that I think that I'm endearing, but still, I saw her and I recognized some qualities that I also possess.
Yeah.
And seeing yourself on screen and then seeing yourself die.
So brutally, too.
So brutally and so just unnecessarily. Mm. It just really, it impacted me. I went into mourning like she was a real person, you know?
She was a real person. I think that's the thing that's hard to ignore with some of these is that these characters become real people to us, you know? And I think Dana especially, Dana was such a real person because she was relatable in so many ways. She was so human. I think she embodied a lot of the journey of not necessarily coming out, but I think coming into your sexuality in a way that a lot of us really connected to, you know, of how do I tell if a girl's gay? How do I tell if she's into me? How do I handle having my life and being open and being confident with it? And there were so many things that Dana did on that show that I think meant a lot to a lot of people. Not that other characters didn't, that she did so much and she represented so much. And, you know, watching that just sort of crumble before you, I mean, it was...
It was so
hard.
rough. And then
it's
I
hard.
still, You Are My Sunshine.
Yeah, can't hear it.
I can't listen to the song. I can't.
Can't do it.
And my mom used to sing that to me like when I was younger. It was like such a cute, there's so many feels that
And
go
it's
along
forever
with that song.
tainted. It's gone.
And yeah, all sadness. There is a part of the bury your gays trope where at the point where a character is the most happy is when they kill them, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that was such a huge thing with Dana. Was like you said, she went through this whole journey of coming out, of having that really weird engagement where she wasn't happy, but she was like, I'm a lesbian, this is a girl, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and she finally got to a place where she was comfortable with herself, where she was happy and in love. And even though I wanted her to be with Alice, she was happy and she was in love. And it was at that point that her life fell apart.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes you feel like, can these people not be happy? Like, can I not be happy?
Right. Does it get better? Exactly.
It gets better and then you die. What?
I think that's why, because Dana still is for Kelsey as well. She can't do it. She can't. We've tried to rewatch the show, and as soon as we start getting anywhere close to where Dana's going to start getting sick, she doesn't want to watch anything anymore. I think we'd have to skip the episodes to get through it, because I don't think she'll do it.
Every time I rewatch The L Word, I only watch the cruise episode because Dana and Alice are together and they're so cute and everything's happy and great. That's how I like to remember Dana Fairbanks in that captain outfit.
I think the first time that I ever watched any of it, and I watched it with my wife, it was in college, and it was probably like the first year that we were dating. So it was her, kind of her first year of coming out and being out. And I think she related to Dana in a lot of the same ways, and it hit so hard. It just really,
yeah.
Oof, I know. We still love you, Dana. We will never forget.
I will never forget Dana.
So I thought about this, and I almost picked Dana as well. How do you not? All of us still mourn, daily, mostly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have that quick moment of, oh, God, Dana, why? But I think my first death, and it's funny because a lot of the things that you were saying, I'm going to say the exact same thing about mine, which is Tara dying in Buffy.
Ugh.
I know. And it's funny because Tara wasn't the character that I really related to, but Willow. I think to me, watching Willow go through that whole event just was so hard. It was hard. And it's funny because that actually all happened before I even came out. I mean, when I used to watch Buffy in high school when it was on the air, I had not yet sort of consciously realized a lot of this about myself. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't really come out yet, which I think she meets Tara in like 99 or 2000. Tara dies in 2002, so I think I came out the next year.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in this weird generation where like I don't hate Kennedy because I think Kennedy was the first real couple that I saw consciously aware of my own feelings, and so it was sort of that, Plus she was cute. I mean,
she was cute, but like, come on.
Her character was awful. I mean, she was terrible, but like she was good looking.
Sucked.
I know, and everyone hates her, and I just can't bring myself to hate her still because I think that was the year I came out, was Willow and Kennedy together, and so that was kind of fun and meaningful for me in certain ways. But the point being, Willow as a character, as someone who was always kind of nerdy, was, kind of always really into school and learning and computers and all of these things that I think I also related to in a lot of ways. And then watching her whole journey as kind of the lead-in to realizing, oh, hey, I also have a lot of those feelings. How interesting. It's hard to get away from what those characters become and what place they take up in your lives. Same thing. A man hit them when they're at their peak and just knock them right back down is to have gone through the journey, everything in that season and them breaking up and all of the feelings, and then they get back together and it's beautiful and it's right and you've been waiting for it for so long. And even knowing Joss Whedon, you just still didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. I remember like watching that episode, and you just got to that ending scene and were in shock. Just staring at the TV going, this can't be real. Fix it. How do you fix it?
Yeah, please fix it. Well,
Please.
you know, I binged Buffy last year. I didn't watch it while it was on air.
Yeah.
And
well, it was probably like just before your time, right? It was like just too early, I think, for you to.
yeah, I guess this is I was 10 years old in 2002. Wow. Oh, wow. But yeah, I started watching it now and binge the crap out of it because it's Buffy and I'm gay. I knew it was going to happen because like
Right, it's unavoidable at that point.
You can't not know. You always know. So I knew that Tara was going to die, but I didn't want to know how. Right? So I didn't know how. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I was also very shocked and just devastated.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You're so happy. They just got back together. They're just going to skip everything and kiss, and it's beautiful. And then out of nowhere, it's like a smack in the face, you know? You're not ready for it.
Didn't they just get out of bed, too? Like, they had a sex scene.
Do you want me to reenact the scene for you? Okay. So Tara's standing here. The window's behind her.
Don't.
But they did just sort of have that, you know, that get back together, makeup, beautiful moment of, you know, we need to process and we need to talk, but we don't need to do it now because we just are too in love to even handle anything right now that is not kissing each other is out of the question. And you'd been waiting and you'd gone through so much with them, and your heart was swelling still. You were still so happy, and then it just, like someone just sets it on fire.
Yeah.
And watches it burn in front of your eyes. I mean, I could go all day about my thoughts on deaths in Buffy, because I have lots of feelings about the characters that we really care about who die on Buffy and how they die and how other characters react to their deaths and the episodes in which they explore these things. And I still think there's something to be said for it's not something that they fix, you know?
Yeah.
They can't fix it. It's not a monster. It's not a demon. It's not, you know, Joyce dies from a stroke and Tara dies because of a gunshot. I mean, it's just, there are these very quotidian things in a fantastical world that can't be fixed. And I could go all day about that. That's not really what today's about, but but I do have to say them anyways. But Tara's death is still just something that I have a hard time rewatching, you know, and I love rewatching Buffy. I rewatch the show all the time. I have made my wife rewatch it with me a bunch of times.
It's just so good. Anyone listening who has not watched Buffy, sorry for the huge spoiler, but also watch it.
But also, it's still so worth watching. But it is hard to watch those episodes. It's hard to watch Tara dying. It's hard to watch Willow respond to it. So that is my pick in terms of my most feels for a lesbian character death.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's only one story. The Only One in the Room has a wide variety of guests, from prisoners to abuse survivors to swingers. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee that Only One in the Room will have a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby!
There's a lot going on right now. Mounting economic inequality, threats to democracy, environmental disaster, the sour stench of chaos in the air. I'm Brooke Gladstone, host of WNYC's On the Media. Want to understand the reasons and the meanings of the narratives that led us here, and maybe how to head them off at the pass? That's On the Media's specialty. Take a listen wherever you get your podcasts.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
politics,
country music,
hockey,
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
But there is something that I also think is interesting about the deaths that we both picked that I wonder if we should talk about quickly, because ClexaCon, in terms of prepping for a convention that I think everyone's super excited about, everyone's really looking forward to getting to, see each other, getting to meet people, getting to meet other fans, getting to meet the stars and actresses and everyone that's going to be there. I think what we're trying to do is to also remember why this exists in the first place. But it is interesting that both of the ones that we picked as being, the ones that we remember most vividly, or that were the first that we remember experiencing ourselves, and discussing how well they actually fit the bury your gaze trope.
Yeah, well, because I said Dana Fairbanks, right? But it's almost weird to me to say that she is a bury your gaze, right? Like I can't believe they killed a gay character, but it's in the L word. And
right.
Everyone's a lesbian. So if you're going to kill someone, the odds are pretty high they'll be a lesbian. Yeah. It's not like they just killed off the one lesbian character in the show, So it's hard for me to say it's a problematic death. It was very powerful and very upsetting.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily know if that is the most problematic of all. There's so many other bury your gays that have been problematic, have been minor characters, a character that people loved and deserved more development and didn't get any,
Yeah.
So it's weird for me to say that she's my bury your gays, but definitely, yeah.
I also
death.
wonder, especially with Dana, because the thing that I'm curious about is, can there be something positive that you get from these sometimes? Is there a silver lining to losing some of these characters? And with Dana especially, maybe this is just me. My experience from college is because there were an awful lot of lesbians at Mount Holyoke, but not everyone was, And so I think as a campus, there was a lot more awareness of the L word as a show, and a lot more straight girls who watched the L word.
Oh yeah, well, one of my best friends, her name's Steph. Doesn't really matter, but I feel like she'll appreciate a shout out. So Steph just recently started watching the L Word, and she is so straight. She has a boyfriend. She's never had any sort of lesbian experiences. And she texts me to be like, I just started watching the L Word. I love it. And she got close to the Dana episodes, and she's devastated.
Yeah. Yeah.
She also is a big friend of the gays. I think what you're sort of trying to say, right, is that even straight people were connected to Dana and felt her death.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and I agree. It's going to be straight people who are probably not seriously homophobic, if you can make it that far into the L word.
Yeah.
If you can stomach the, however many seasons of lesbian sex that you've just watched, you're probably not staunchly homophobic. Not even necessarily just in terms of, having straight people care about a gay character that dies, but I think in terms of getting closer to understanding why some of these deaths matter so much to us, because it is something that I've noticed is when you try to explain bury your gays as a problem to a lot of straight people who don't spend a lot of their time discussing LGBT representation in the media and things like that. So people who aren't our friends, for example, that's something that you run into a lot is they just don't understand why it's such a big deal, Characters die on shows all the time, and it's not like none of those characters are straight as well. But I think that trying to explain, how little representation we have, how not well done that representation frequently is, and how easily these characters are just kind of written out abruptly and unnecessarily or unfairly. It's not something that I think is easy to explain why it matters so much. I wonder if it's just, I know a lot of straight people also who watched The L Word, and I know that Dana really hit them hard as well. And so I wonder if that kind of starts to give at least the idea, of why this is so important.
Yeah.
And I think the difference that I would say between Dana and Tara dying is, I think as you said, there is still a huge outcry in terms of, did Dana have to die? I think that's a big thing that people still get upset about with that storyline is, was there a reason to kill her off?
I've read a lot about this because I, of course, was like, Dana, why did you die? And then, you get into this lesbian hole.
Right.
And the writer was talking
I'm going to not
about...
make a lesbian hole joke. I'm sorry.
The writer was talking about how she killed off Dana because she knew Dana's death would be impactful.
Mm-hmm.
She knew that people would care and that it would make a statement about breast cancer.
Yeah.
That people would really care about. So I do understand that perspective.
I understand that from I want to say, it's not like political perspective, but from like a political perspective, I get that. In terms of the story, did it need to happen? I don't know. You know, and that's what I do disagree about Tara. I think Tara as a death was hard. It was done in that way that Joss Whedon likes to rip your heart out, how he takes characters away from you, that I think if you've watched a lot of his shows, you'll be familiar with. And I don't want to get into a huge Joss Whedon discussion, but I think, Joyce is a great example of that. Tara's a great example of that. From Buffy, I think Firefly is a great example of that a lot of people have strong feelings about as well. But I still do believe very strongly, I think Tara had to die. As much as it kills me. I know. It hurts me to say it. But really, I just have so many feelings and thoughts about Buffy, but I could go all day. I feel like the last season of the show couldn't happen without it. If you don't have Willow tap into that place and tap into that magic and that capability within herself, there's no ending to the show. There's no season 7. There's no finale. There's no, all those men were powerful and this woman is more powerful than all of them combined. You need that, you know?
Yes. And I'm weirdly attracted to Dark Willow. So like, I feel like, yeah, it's fine that she went there, but
yeah. And I think all of us had that moment of remembering Dark Willow with the dark eyes with the goo part of Winona Earp last season. We all had flashbacks. It's fine, Sometimes evil's a little attractive.
Yeah. I can agree with you that Tara's death propelled the storyline forward. It was not unnecessary. Obviously, it was painful.
Oh,
but it was used to propel the storyline forward.
It was there for a reason. It didn't just happen kind of out of the blue for nothing. I think it served a purpose. And I think that's important because it's hard to have conversations like this without making it sound like shows can't kill off gay characters. Of course you can. They're characters, and sometimes you have to have, characters die or have characters be written off of shows or actors leave or get, things happen. We understand that. But I think the bigger issue here is, how do you handle that representation? Is there a reason for it? Do you do it in a way that kind of leaves a bad taste in people's mouths? And I think having writers, having networks, having shows really engage with and think about how that representation is happening, because it's so important. And I think that's something, we've seen a lot of this week, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For those of you who are following the podcast, or if you have listened to our previous episode, our Should Have Been Gay for Pitch Perfect, we talked about Chloe and how Universal has been queer baiting us with that. But I think the response that we've gotten from that has been overwhelming in that people want to see positive representation. We know this. But for me, I wanted to take a minute to talk about the importance of queer representation for particularly a younger audience. Because in this past week, And even since we've started the podcast, we've gotten a lot of messages from high schoolers who listen to the podcast, and this is one of the only forms of media that they feel like they have that represents them. You know, and when we talk about being positive queer representation, I think that's who we do it for, and those are the most impressionable viewers. Yeah. And so I think that's why it is so important that networks are cognizant of the audience that they're affecting with these deaths. The audience is deeply affected, and especially younger viewers.
Yeah. And not just deaths. I mean, I think just representation in general. You know, we absolutely have just been blown away by the response, by the passion, by the, you know, everything that we've seen from, specifically this week, from the Bechloe fandom. But I think it's not unique to that fandom. You know, I think it's something that's really common, is to have things that are marketed to that audience, to younger audiences, in a very specific way that leaves them feeling used and leaves them feeling disappointed and leaves them feeling poorly represented. And so I think that is a great example of something, and we've heard so much this week, and I think it's been really important to us to see those messages, and important to see how that community is sort of supporting each other through all of that. And so it's also why we wanted to, you know, find some way to take something positive out of that again. So I think trying to look for that silver lining, you know, I think the Pitch Perfect movies, how they were marketed, how that promo was done, there's a lot to be said, and we know we certainly don't need to tell you guys about, you know, what that was or what feelings to have about it. But I think we were looking for some way to take something positive out of that. And so that's why we decided to try to support a movement to have Universal release the footage of the Bechloe kiss that everyone knows happened. If you go to our TeePublic store, you can find a shirt that's a design with the Release the Kiss logo, and we're going to be donating 20% of our proceeds from those shirts to LGBT Fans Deserve Better, because I think it's important to build something from that to help advocate for better representation in the media. And that's really what we're hoping is the main takeaway here, especially leading into something like ClexaCon, which I think this year especially, you know, we talked about this in our interview with the ClexaCon founders, feels more celebratory this year than I think it probably did last year. You know, and there are things to celebrate. There are a lot of things that are being done well, and there is a lot of good representation out there, especially in this year 2018 that has brought us so much so far.
Yes.
In just a few short months. God, gays aplenty. And it is, you know, we're seeing a lot of good representation, and I think organizations like LGBT Fans Deserve Better that are out there trying to raise awareness and advocate on behalf of our community, you know, great people doing great things. And so we wanted to help support that. So be sure to check out the shirts if you are interested in helping support that as well.
Yes. I just want to say really quickly how much I love the queer community, because I feel like, at least from what I've seen, every moment of negative representation has been met 20-fold by people pushing for positive. People trying to find the silver lining and trying to create something better and something that represents us. And I just think that's incredible, and have so much love for everyone in this community. So I just wanted to share that. That's all.
We love all of you guys. Yeah. We love our gays. We love our queers.
Yes.
We love our straight allies as well. We love all of you.
All of them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's a better positive note to end all the sadness of death, right?
Yes. After processing our feelings via podcast for the past, you know, half hour or so.
Yeah. I think love.
I think we should just end it there. End it on a high note. We love you guys. We're super excited for ClexaCon. We cannot wait to see all of you there.
Yes. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up this one. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Les Hangout Pod. Check it out and make sure you go on our Twitter, retweet our Release the Kiss tweets. We need to get this in front of Universal.
Yes. Also, you can email us anytime at leshangoutpod@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. So if you have more stories, or if you have deaths that impacted you, send us an email.
Yep, or you can check out our website at leshangoutpod.com.
If you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes. We also love reading those, and it helps us keep the podcast going.
Yes, and we actually have just started being played on Radio Public. So if you want to listen there, that actually really helps us. We get paid listens for that, but it's completely free for you. So if you want to listen on Radio Public, it works on all devices. You can use the link bit.ly/leslisten.
It is like a free way to help support the podcast if you don't have actual money to either become a patron or buy shirts or, things like that. That's just something easy that you could do to help support us.
Yes, all you have to do is use the Radio Public player. Super easy. And if you want to follow us individually, the best place to find me is at Ellie Brigida on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter at LSH Foster.
And with that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to speak of them or talk about them or in any way portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. It would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out Real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.